In a huge mansion, a man was found dead when his maid went to give him his breakfast. Harlan Thrombey, a mystery novelist, is a man who was found dead on the morning after his 85th birthday party. The early suspicions about his death were that he had committed suicide. The police are investigating his family members at his house. According to the early investigation, everyone's relationship seemed to be good with him, even his daughter-in-law Joni, who was married to his son Noel, who died years ago. A person is sitting silently at the back of the room while the detectives question Harlan's family members. When Linda asks about him, he introduces himself as Benoit Blanc and says that he is a private detective but can't say who hired him. As the investigation goes on, it is revealed that Harlan's relationship was not as good with his family members as they were showing. On the day of his birthday, Harlan fired his son Walt from his publishing company, saying that he had stopped him from doing something of his own in the past and didn't want to keep him restricted anymore. He also had a fight with his son-in-law Richard, who was cheating on his daughter Linda. Harlan threatened to expose him while Richard wanted him to stay out of their relationship. Harlan had also cut Joni's allowance, saying that she had been stealing from him for years and he would not bear this anymore. Blanc tries to corner everyone, but they come up with false stories about their arguments with Harlan. That night, some of the family members had heard Harlan was also fighting with Ransom, his grandson. The other detectives also think it was a suicide, but Blanc says that a sliced throat is not the conventional way of committing suicide. They meet up with Marta and interrogate her. Marta has a condition in which if she lies, she will throw up. Blanc knows about her condition and asks her if Richard is cheating on his wife. Marta says no but instantly pukes after that. Blanc doesn't stop her and asks her if Harlan fired Walt and cut Joni's allowances, but Marta stays silent, which gives them their answer. Other detectives let Marta go and Blanc tells them that he doesn't know who hired him as he received an envelope of cash and news about Harlan's death, but this proves that someone has doubts about his suicide. He then asks them to tell him the events of the night after the party ended. They filled him up again, saying that Marta stayed with Harlan till midnight and went home while Walt was smoking on the porch with his son and Linda and Richard were asleep in their room. Detectives say that the time of Harlan's death was between 12:15 and 2 a.m. Detectives still believe that this was a suicide as there is no apparent motive in everyone's stories about the events of the night match, which makes it impossible that someone was with Harlan at his time of death, but Blanc is still unsure and says that they have to keep digging as they know that everyone can lie in this family. They talk to Marta again. Blanc says that he wants to get a clear picture of that night in his mind, and as Marta was the main part of it, he wants to listen to her. Marta remembers the events of that night, when he and Harlan went to his room after the party. Harlan wanted to play his routine game of Go Board and says he will only take medicine if you play with him. They didn't get to complete the game as Harlan knocked over the board in the middle. Finally, Marta gives him his medicine but soon finds that she accidentally gave him a high dose of morphine, which will kill him in 10 minutes. She panics, searches for an antidote but can't find it and decides to call for an ambulance. Surprisingly, Harlan is very calm and stops Marta from calling an ambulance, saying that it will take 15 minutes until then he will be dead. Harlan says to Marta that if she has mixed the medicine, they will not be able to save him, so they have to get Marta out of it as her mother is an immigrant and it will be hard for them if they get caught. He tells Marta the whole plan and says she will have to get out of the house noisily to draw everyone's attention to her leaving time and then come back on foot after parking her car a little further. She'll have to climb the wall and then descend after putting on his robe and cap, so they think their father came downstairs after Marta left. Marta is afraid she will not be able to lie to the police, but he says that she can tell parts of the truth. She is hesitant, but, on his force, she goes through with the plan. She tells the detectives a half-truth and manages to not puke in front of them. Later, at the memorial service for Harlan, Walt says to Marta that they will take care of her financially. When she comes outside after talking to them, she finds Blanc sitting there. He says that he is not giving up on the case. He says that the medical department wanted to declare it a suicide, but he took the time for 48 hours and will search the house in the morning and wants Marta to join him. She tries to refuse, but he doesn't listen to her and asks her to join him at 8 in the morning. When Marta went home after that, she remembered what happened in the night. When Marta left the room at Harlan's request, she couldn't take the guilt and came back only to find Harlan lying on his couch with a knife to his throat. He tells Marta to not worry and just go with the plan and slices his throat in front of her. The next morning, Marta joins Blanc in his investigation and sneakily ruins the little signs she left behind that night. But later, the dogs bring a broken piece of the window to Blanc's feet, which gives him a lead, and he finds the traces of a person going inside Harlan's room that night. Later that day, Harlan's will be read aloud. Ransom also joins the family to hear the will, and they continue the usual family fights until the lawyer calls them to hear the will. He says that Harlan also left a statement in which he told them to accept the will with an open mind as he had changed it a week ago. When the lawyer read the will, they were all shocked to find that Harlan left everything to Marta. Marta is also shocked by the revelation. The whole family is shocked by the will and goes to attack Marta, shouting at her. She tries to escape and gets into her car, but it won't start. Ransom comes in time and saves her from his enraged family. Ransom brings her to a restaurant and blackmails Marta into telling him the truth, saying that he knows it was not a suicide and Marta can't lie. After knowing the truth, he says that he will help her get through this, and in the end, she will have to give him his part of the inheritance. While they are in the restaurant, Marta receives a call from Meg saying that she should renounce the inheritance as they are a real family of Harlan and they will take care of Marta too. After the call, Marta agrees with Ransom's offer. When Marta comes back home, she is surprised to find the media outlets in front of her house. Her mother gives her a stack of papers saying that some lawyers left them for her and asks Marta to take care of the situation quickly. Marta tries to escape from the back door, but Walt is waiting for her there. He threatens her, saying that he knows her mother is an illegal immigrant and that if she renounces the inheritance, they will help her in that case as they have the resources. She refuses, claiming that their resources are now hers and that she will handle everything herself. When she comes inside, she finds a note saying that they know about what Marta did with the photocopy of the lab report. Panicked, she goes to Ransom and tells him about the situation. They decide to go to the lab to check for themselves, but when they reach there, they find that the whole place has been burned down. Ransom asks if she has received anything else, which prompts her to check her emails, where she discovers an email from the blackmailer asking her to meet at a specific location at 10 a.m. As they are sitting in the car planning, Blanc sees him and starts to go towards them, but before he could go near them, Marta starts the car and drives away from there. After a long chase, police caught up with them and arrested Ransom. Harlan's grandmother, Grandma, says that she saw him getting out of the house on the night of the party. Blanc gets into the car with Marta. After driving for a while, Marta says she has to stop somewhere for a while and goes to the place the blackmailer had asked her to meet. There she finds Harlan's caretaker, Frank, drugged and close to death. She performs CPR and calls the ambulance. In the hospital, he says to Blanc that people are getting hurt, so she can't hide the truth anymore and goes to tell him, but he says that Ransom has already told on her. Marta says that she wants to tell Harlan's family as they deserve to know, but Blanc says it is not a good idea. Marta is still determined, so Blanc has to agree with her. When they go to the house again, Meg says sorry to Marta for telling them about her mother and mentions Fran's stash. Marta gets the idea and tells Blanc she knows where the medical report is. She doesn't read the report and just gives it to Blanc and goes to talk to the family. Blanc reads the report and discovers that Harlan did not have an overdose of morphine in his system. He quickly goes and stops Marta from saying anything. He announces that the death was a suicide and that he is closing the case. He then drags Marta away. Blanc asks the other detectives to keep the family away from the room and brings Ransom into the room. Harlan then tells everyone that Ransom was the one who framed this, as Harlan had told him about the will. When he found out about the will, he changed the medication, so when Marta accidentally swapped them, she gave Harlan the correct dose. When the death was reported as a suicide, Ransom sent the news and the money to Blanc and hired him so Marta could be blamed for the death and Ransom would get the inheritance. If Marta had called the ambulance, Harlan would have been saved. Ransom later missed the funeral so he could hide Marta's medical bag, but Fran saw him doing that and sent him the blackmail note. When Marta told him about Harlan's death, he realized Marta was innocent and destroyed every piece of evidence that could prove her innocence, including burning the lab down. He also overdosed on Fran, trying to frame Marta for her murder. Ransom says that they have no proof against him, but at that time, Marta received a call that Fran had fortunately survived. Ransom panics upon hearing that and confesses that he staged all this. Marta accidentally vomits on him, revealing that she was lying as Fran had died. Ransom gets furious and attacks Marta with a knife, but luckily it turns out to be a retractable stage knife. Detectives were recording all this, so they arrested him for his murder confession and attempting murder. Linda finds the note about her husband's cheating. As the police take away Ransom and the other family members, Marta watches them from the balcony of her new mansion. This video ends here. If you enjoy our video, don't forget to subscribe, like and hit the notification button so you won't miss any of our video, and let us know your thoughts about this movie in the comments, and we will see you next time. Take care.